Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. We are hopping right into the projects today and we're doing Christmas in July. So I have 3 projects to share with you and all 3 of them are going to incorporate napkins that we're going to be decoupaging on these items. So for this first project, we're going to be using this scrap piece of wood. I'm going to give just this top part of it a good coat of white chalk paint, and I'm going to let it thoroughly dry before I move on to the next part. Once this is dry, then I'm going to apply Mod Podge to the chalk paint. I'm going to do a fairly thick coat. I'm going to let that thoroughly dry before I apply the decoupage. So I have done this technique once before. It worked out really well. So I am going to be doing this technique for all 3 projects. So I thought I was recording when I was working with this napkin, but apparently I was not. I grabbed this napkin from I think like TJ Maxx or Marshall's a couple years ago and I still had a couple left. So I removed, I separated the plies from this napkin so I just had this single ply and I am I put the napkin down where I wanted it on the wood. I applied parchment paper and then I applied heat to the parchment paper. So I'm using my Cricut, like the mini press. If you only have an iron, that works as well. Just make sure you don't have any steam, on your iron. And you just rub it all across the top and it is perfect for decoupaging. I wanted to make this look like a framed piece of art. So I am using this mold by Redesigned by Prima. I did get it off of Amazon. If I can find it, I will link it in the description. And I am using the resin to make my molds. You can definitely use clay if you want. In this case, I'm just using the resin. So if you haven't used resin before, you're going to do equal parts of A and B, and then you're going to mix them together really well but quickly, and then you're going to pour it into your mold. So in this case I had to do this 4 times and it does take about 10 minutes for it to set up, but I ended up removing the mold from or the resin from the mold before the 10 minutes was up to where it was still kind of warm and pliable. This way it was easier for me to cut it, which you will see here in a little bit. So as one mold is setting up, I'm taking the other mold and I'm going to size it and then cut it using an X-Acto knife. This worked really well, and like I said, it was still kind of warm and pliable, which made it that much easier. You could definitely cut it when it has hardened up, but when it's softer like this, it definitely makes it a lot easier. And for this frame, I picked a green that I had in my stash. It actually is wall paint. It is not chalk paint or anything like that. I just love this color. It was a sample that I had for my bedroom, and I really love how this color complements the greens that are already in the napkin. So I'm going to be applying the molds with hot glue. This is for myself. It is a stand-up, standalone piece, so hot glue will hold it perfectly fine. And then once I have have it all hot glued, I am going to paint the sides of this with that green as well and fill in any gaps that I may have missed on the actual mold itself. One thing that I did forget to mention, and I forgot to include as a clip here, once I was done with the decoupage of the napkin, with the heat, I did do an extra coat of Mod Podge on top of it to seal it before I added the mold trim around it. So I let this sit for, 24 hours, and then I wanted to, give a little bit more depth and dimension to the frame around it. So I did add some dark wax and then a little bit of this bronzy gold to just make it pop just a little bit. So I really hope you like this first project. Okay, this project is probably my favorite. So we're going to be doing a Christmas book stack. I love doing book stacks, especially for holidays, but I kind of wanted to do something a little different than my normal book stacks that I have done in the past on my channel. So I decided I was going to try and do a little decoupage on these books. So we're going to give it a shot. Spoiler alert, it turned out really, really good. So I removed the covers and the first couple pages of each book and from each book, and then I'm going to paint the spines as well as about an inch or so on the top of each book with white chalk paint. And then I'm going to let that thoroughly dry before I glue them together. So the book stacks that I normally make are, stacked on top of each other. In this case, I wanted to do it where they were vertical. And so I still glued them together, but instead of trying to like center and make sure each book, worked, was like largest to smallest, and like, centered. One of the books was a little bit smaller, which was fine. I just made sure that when I propped it up like here, they all were flush at the bottom because, like I said, they're all going to be standing up like this. So this napkin I have had forever, or the whole pack. I've never opened it, but I love the red truck on this napkin. And yes, it is the same exact image as the first project, but those were like the smaller cocktail napkins, and this is a larger napkin. So here you can see I removed the second ply from it, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to make this work. I realized that the truck was a little bit larger than the front portion of the book stack. So even when I pushed them, pushed the napkin in a little bit, so it showed that it was more of like a book stack, it still, went over on the side. So I was like, okay, well, this napkin fits perfectly wrapped around this entire book stack. So I'm going to give it a shot. At this point, I have only put Mod Podge on the spine portion of the book stack. So that is what I'm focused on in this clip here. So, I put the Mod Podge on, I let it dry for, a couple hours, and then I'm using the parchment paper with my, mini Cricut to apply the heat. And I'm going to do that until the napkin is thoroughly adhered to the book stack. I was going to cut the napkin like, between the spines of the book, but I ended up not doing that and I moved on to the top of the book. So I'm going to do the Mod Podge just like I've done in the past. I'm going to do a nice good coat. I'm going to let it dry for, I probably let it dry for maybe like 30 minutes or so. I should have let it dry a little bit longer than that, but it still ended up working out fine. And I'm just doing the same process as I did with the spine with applying the heat with the parchment paper. It worked really, really well, and the napkin applied really smooth to the book stack. I let this sit overnight, and then I'm just using some sandpaper to get off the excess napkin, and I'm making sure that I am pushing the sandpaper in a downward motion so I don't tear the napkin, um, that's on the actual book stack. And I did apply another coat of Mod Podge on here. I forgot to mention that. So this is completely sealed with Mod Podge, so the napkin is you know protected. And then I'm just going to add some twine above the truck and on the bottom of the truck just to add a little something extra to it. And I think this book stack turned out so cute. It's going to look so good on my bookshelf for the holidays. I really hope you guys like this project. For this project, we're using this little mini cutting board. I grabbed this from Aldi probably 2 years ago. I grabbed multiple packs from there when they were like super popular and in stock. I think this is actually my last cutting board from that stash that I bought. But I am going to be painting the middle portion here with white chalk paint. I'm going to let that thoroughly dry. And then I'm going to add the coat of Mod Podge just like I've done with the other two projects. So I'm going to add the Mod Podge, let it dry, and then I'm going to decoupage the napkin onto this portion. So I went back and forth with this napkin. I'm using a different one than in the other two projects. And this napkin had several images on it, you know, like a Santa, a tree, bells, things like that. So I was trying to see what was going to work best on here. And my plan kind of changed as I was doing this, but that happens with a lot of crafts, right? I mean, you start it and it goes in a different direction. So I was trying to get the full length Santa. That didn't work out very well. So I ended up going with the Santa where the bottom portion, like his legs, are kind of cut off, but it looked really cute because I put it up against the bottom portion of the cutting board. So it all worked out. And I just added some water around the image to help prevent any tearing of the actual Santa as I was removing it, you know, from the whole napkin. I had some resin molds that I made at Christmas time last year that I never ended up using, so I just set them aside and I figured I would use one on this cutting board. So I'm going to paint it up so that it has that really pretty pop of red and green. And then once it is all painted, I am going to apply it to the cutting board. And I'm actually using that same green wall, I guess it's latex paint on the resin mold. And I also, for the red, I was just using craft paint. I wasn't using anything super fancy. So like I said, I'm going to apply it to the cutting board. I'm using hot glue again. And then after I applied that, then I decided that I wanted to add a little bit of something extra to the mold. So I went back with black wax and then the gold bronze that I did in the first project. I went really well with this green, so I wanted to add that again to this mold. And then to finish it off, I'm just going to add a little bit of ribbon and tie that around the top, a little bit of pip berry, and then this project is done. I hope everyone enjoyed this video. I really had a lot of fun making these Christmas crafts in July. It got me inspired to get ready for the holidays. I cannot wait to create and craft for fall and Christmas. I hope everyone is as excited as I am for the holiday season coming up. I think crafting this time of year coming up is the best. So I hope everyone sticks around for all the fun projects up ahead. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up and please consider subscribing and let me know your favorite in the comments. Have a great rest of your week and I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys.